Welcome gamers to Dominion 6. This is going to be a tutorial series really geared towards either starting or beginning players who maybe haven't really been able to embrace the game but love the idea of it. I was certainly in that category for many years actually before I really got into the game and sort of realised that I didn't have to be min-maxing everything. But in this episode we're going to be looking at eras or the ages. They're basically, they refer to the same type of thing. If you just go to create world and just click on OK, I'll just call this one test. I don't know if we've got to replace one. No, we don't. We end up with this screen here with the different eras. And what these are, I just want to explain how they work and what they do to the game. So they actually do change things a little bit with the game itself. So we've got the early ages, the middle ages, and the late ages are the different eras that we are then playing. The early ages are full of magic and civilization is at its beginning. At most places, iron has not been thought of yet, and armors and weapons are made of wood, stone, and bronze. Now that's not strictly true. There are a lot of factions that actually do make use of iron. Mages are most powerful in this age, and there is an abundance of magic resources. It is a time of legends, but this is sort of more of like a more ancient sort of way of looking at the game, looking at the game, but actually of playing the different sorts of factions. So think of it in terms of like a Stone Age / Bronze Age / Roman Empire age as well, to be honest. And so this sort of does go through, maybe even up to the Dark Ages would be a way of sort of thinking of this one. So maybe including the Dark Ages to a certain degree. But I'll show you some of the factions from these after we just do this bit of an explanation. Now, does that mean that these are weaker than the others that are coming behind it? Not at all. Not at all, because of the magic aspect. It's just that they're different. So they've got like a different sort of theme. The world will also tend to be a little bit more magical in this sort of era as well. And so that's the early ages. The Middle Ages, so the civilization has continued to make progress and modern technologies like iron are now available to most nations. Mages have lost some of their former power and magic resources are not as abundant as before. This is sort of like the early Middle Ages, just after the Dark Ages essentially. That sort of would be how you'd think of it. But in terms of the actual game itself, as I say, each faction is balanced with across the game, not really even just within the actual ages that they then go and play. And then finally we've got the late ages. In the late ages, iron and steel are readily available and used to arm most troops. Magic resources have continued to dwindle, but mages have become more organised and their knowledge of the different magic paths are greater than ever before. And so let's just go and start a game with the early ages and the late ages, and I can then sort of show you what happens with the maps or the map creation. If we just go and click on OK, and through here I'm just going to click on, I'll just choose Ulm as an example for what we're going to be then going and doing. So if we just go and click on OK, and through here, and I'll just press R and just get any old thing at this stage. Denise. We'll press Denise. When we come back into here, you'll see that special site frequency is high at 65. So this increases the value, you get more magic sites in the world. And so when you play an early age start, this is one of the tangible things that you sort of see about the world creation, where special sites are fairly prevalent. Now you can always change this yourself, but that's from an early start. If we go back to cancel and cancel that one as well and go, for example, to the late ages and click on OK and choose Ulm from the late ages, and I will show Ulm as an example throughout the ages, how they sort of then change. I may show a few of the others as well in this episode, but I just wanted to go through how these ages actually then do apply to this aspect, which is the map creation. Just going to click on OK, press R and get ourselves a random dragon, in this case a black dragon. Click on OK, and through there, Snorri. All praise Snorri. And so we're down to 45 for the late age. So the special site frequency goes down because there's less magical things in the game. So this is just one thing that you can always just go and say, hey, I want that to go up, please. I'll have it at 65, thank you. So you can sort of right click or left click to change that one up. But this is one of the aspects that it does change the feel of the game, because these will have more mundane maps, so the maps won't have anywhere near the number of special sites than an early age map will have. And can you guess what number it would be for the Middle Ages? Middle Ages, it's 55. So it goes 65 for the special sites, 45 for the late ages, and 55 in the middle there for the Middle Ages. So it's just the percentage essentially of, or not the percentage, but the number there of the prevalence of those sort of magic sites. Let's go and have a look at Ulm through the ages. So we'll, and that's pretty much, if you don't want to be watching any more of this video, goodbye, thank you for watching, watching this far into it. All 5 minutes and 20 seconds by the looks of my recording meter. If we just go into the early ages back and through here and just click on OK. Ulm is interesting. There's a few of them that are worth having a look at. I won't do all of them in this episode, but there a lot of them follow on from era to era to era. And so they go, some of them go all the way from the early age through to the late age. Some of them start in the middle age and it might go to the late age, things like this. Some of them transform into different empires. A good example of that is Ermor, the New Faith, which in this game starts off as Rome, becomes an undead kingdom in the Middle Age, and then splinters away and it doesn't even exist in the Third Age, but the remnants of it are still there with sort of hybrid undead type world. So that changes dramatically. Other factions hardly change at all. From my feeling of it, I know that there'll be players or sort of players who are looking at what I'm saying, thinking, "Oh no, you got that completely wrong." By the way, if you are one of those players, please write in the comments. I really do. I love it when people actually disagree or give constructive criticism about what I'm saying. And if you are looking at this video or any of these videos, please read the comments, because you will find there will be players who approach things differently, and this is one of these games where every voice is important because it does give different perspectives, and this is one of these few games where it can be so wildly different with your approach. And I know that there's no one best way of doing things. It really is incredible in its scope, and you won't know that until you start to get and play the game in any sort of great way. Anyway, Ermor, as I say, changes dramatically. Pangaea doesn't really seem to change much across the three ages, and it's there for all three ages. Other ones that don't change much, Satis, the Lizard Kings, don't really change dramatically in the way that they actually do play. They're probably two that actually don't change a hell of a lot. Some of the others do change a lot, but one I do like to look at is Ulm, the Enigma of Steel. And if we just do the rest of this video having a look at the way that Ulm essentially gets adapted across each age, it'll start to make more sense. And you see it in the bottom there, Ulm is a nation with a barbarian legacy. They are strong and proud and worship steel and the spirits of the wild. The warriors of Ulm are stealthy and well versed in the ways of the wild. The warrior smiths are master of magical forging. And so this is sort of, it'll always give you a bit of a feel about the actual faction itself. If you go and click on that one, now you can, if you wanted to, actually, if we just go back out there and right click, we can then read about in more detail. We can then start to, so I might just talk a little bit about how we can do this if you are looking at these things. You can read all of the different information here, which I will be talking about. Yeah, we'll talk about this. I'm going to be talking about this in much more detail, though, when we actually are going to be. I'm going to do an episode on which faction to choose for whatever level you're actually at in the game. What sort of challenge you're looking for. I'm going to be going through how to do that. I'm just tempted to talk about it now. But you can, if you're wanting to, you can actually go and have a look at the different units, click on them, see what they're made up of. I will be doing videos on what all these different things are as well. It's going to be quite a big series, this one, I can tell you in advance. There's a lot to talk about. Mountain Warriors back and through here as well. I'm not picking on the Mountain Warriors, but you can actually have a good look at what their skill sets are. So you can make a lot of information about this one in through here. Anyway, I may just do the right-click method. The one thing I do like to do is, if you are looking at the factions, you can always just come back. So if we actually choose, for example, Ulm in through this side, and then just click on OK, we then get taken back through to here anyway. And so we can then sort of have a look. And in fact, if we press OK one more time, and I think I might do this, we can always just go back into here and view the nation descriptions and units to go back to this one. I think this is probably the easiest way to get an overall feel. I just paused and had a real think about it. Is this too much to put in this video? Let's go back and look at the description and the units. And remember, this is early age Ulm. So Ulm is a land of cold mountains and dense forests, with these wild lands are settled by proud and fierce barbarians of ages past. Their ancestry has made the inhabitants of the forest stronger and more resilient to the cold climate of than ordinary men. Upon becoming men, youngsters are given a single knife and left in the forest at first snowfall. Those who survive the winter are allowed to return to their family. The barbarians of Ulm live in small settlements ruled by chieftains and warrior smiths who search for the enigma of steel. Steel is a sacred metal, and its maker is as well. Smithing has become the equivalent of making a sacrifice to the Lord, and no other culture has developed such skill in forging magical items. So this is a race of forgers. Forgers and like blacksmiths type things, ring makers, things like this. And then horses are rare, and those who use them in warfare are held in contempt. Sneak attacks, on the other hand, are common, and many warriors use stealth to engage opponents in hand-to-hand combat. And so these are basically barbarians who have embraced metal, because the barbarians in the game are very strong human units, but with no real armor. So they're very, very fragile. They're glass cannons. They hit hard, but they get hit really hard. So you need massive numbers of them. But in this case, we're sort of at the start where these have come in and embraced the idea where they can actually then start. And if I click on some of these units, for example, you'll see this got a scale mail hauberk and an iron cap. A little bit more than what a barbarian would have in the base game. And barbarians are there for the whole game, by the way. Barbarians are really quite strong in so many different ways, but Ulm just has a bit more protection with what they do with their barbarians. So that's sort of how these guys actually then go and work. So this is the first of them, where we've got like different sorts of shaman, like an antlered shaman back in through this other side with nature and earth magic as an example. If we come back out and just click on OK, we come back to this area, look at the physical forms, we can sort of see there's all sorts of weird and wonderful things we can actually get through here. I'll be talking about the physical forms of the gods in another episode, but this will chop and change a little bit over the 3 eras. So these are the different. This is who you will then be playing. You'll be choosing a different pretender. I'll just show you the screen, but I won't be going through it in any sort of detail in this instance. But this is the early age. If I then just click on OK, I'm just going to go cancel. Actually, I will just press R and just click on OK, and then cancel. Oops, I've got to click on OK. Oh, come on. R, OK, 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 cancel. Takes me back. Cancel. Takes me back to here. That's the early age. I might skip over that whole process and just go straight in. Middle Ages. So we're now in the middle era of Ulm. So let's just go into the Middle Ages in through this other side. Press OK. Choose Ulm in through here. So this is now, instead of it being the Enigma of Steel, it's now the Forges of Ulm. And if we just click on OK and through here, click on OK. If we have a look at the physical forms, these are similar. Actually, they're very, very much the same, aren't they, in this case? Yeah, actually, they look identical, to be honest. Just very, very briefly. Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing things in here that these will be different across the different factions. I thought that there was sometimes there may be some differences, but I'm not noticing them, to be honest, in this instance. Anyway, that's the physical forms. If we just go back to the nation and description, you'll notice that these guys are now much more heavily armoured. They've now got full plates, full plate helmets, tower shields, and so their overall protection, their armour is really, really strong. And so Ulm is a young kingdom, risen from the Ulmic tribes conquered by the fallen empire of Ermor. Now, this is sort of referring to the late age in the history of the world. In the Middle Age, Ermor, essentially the Rome-like faction that you end up having, has now taken over many, many factions, and Ulm has sort of risen from that area. From the ashes of Ermor emerged a new kingdom, true to its ancient legacy, the Enigma of Steel. Where Marignon, which is another faction, relied on religion to build a kingdom, Ulm relied on steel. The mines of Ulm are famous for their riches, and the smiths of Ulm worked the iron into the black steel armour used by the knights and infantry of Ulm. The people of Ulm are heavily built by human standards. Their infantry used chainmail or plate mail of black steel. The feared black knights of Ulm are the most heavily armoured troops known to man. The leaders of Ulm have never approved of magic, and only the master smiths are allowed to use it. The smiths are allowed to are used to working in conditions that are magically unfavourable, and are therefore not adversely affected by provinces that have a strong drain dominion, which I'll talk about in another episode. The smiths craft armour and weaponry for lords and kings, but the strength of steel is preferred over magic. Even religion is of secondary importance in Ulm, though an iron cult that worships steel is a more devout fashion has emerged in recent times. And so this is essentially stocky humans. The way I look at it, the first one are becoming sort of like armoured barbarians. These are sort of now descending more into almost like the dwarves from like the Ring of the Nibelung. It would be a way of sort of thinking of it. For example, these are all about forging their items, forging their magical equipment. They're not about magic at all. This is why they're such a good faction to play if you are just trying to get used to the game, because they don't rely on magic, which means it's very forgiving in that sense. Again, there'll be people that will disagree with that comment, but I think that this is a great faction to play as a new player, just to get used to understanding the basics of the game, and then starting to sort of get things with a bit more magic, a bit more sort of blessable troops with what to actually then go and do. But these are strong units that they, very, very heavily armoured units pretty much across the whole board here. So extremely good units, like in terms of just the fighting ability of their armies. So that's the middle age of Ulm. Then we go to the late age. So in the late age, everything is now dwindling away. And so we've got less magic. So when we come back in, if we just go and choose, this is now Ulm, the Black Forest. So it's sort of now gone into its last iteration of how it sort of works. And so if we just go back across into here and click on OK, and click on OK again, I think that the physical form is, pretty much the same actually all the way across. I don't know if that's changed. It vaguely looks slightly different, but it's basically the same. Anyway, that's the physical form of the gods. Let's just go back to the nation descriptions. You see, we've got a lot less to choose from in here now, coming through the actual units themselves. So after years of civil war, the Iron Kingdom crumbled. During the night of treason, a great malediction was placed upon the kingdom. The forest became dark and hostile. Wolves and creatures, even worse, stalked the land. Slowly the kingdom recovered, but it was not what it once was. The knightly order was all but destroyed, and the master smiths had disappeared. The secret of black steel was forgotten. An order of black priests emerged in Ulm in the last days before the Civil War. They formed an iron cult, consolidating their position, and forbade the use of magic. Magic outside religion was announced to be sacrilegious, and the few surviving master smiths were put to the flames. Although magery is forbidden, there are some fortune tellers and members of the Order of the Illuminated Ones who secretly ply their trade in the arcane. And so there were master smiths amongst the mages that were actually back up and through here. So we've actually now no longer have the mages. The factions that we actually have, we no longer have the black steel. We've just got standard old, like non-magical equipment. So this is much more mundane, but still heavily armoured. So it's just interesting to see how the game portrays these different factions across these different areas as well. So that's Ulm through the ages. As I say, there's so many of them that transform across. Just cancel that one and cancel that one. So it's fascinating. Like as I said before, Ermor becomes. If I'll just do it from here. Hang on. If I not that one. Keep on clicking the wrong things. Ermor is essentially Rome. You can see there it's got like Hastises, Principes, Triarises, etc. So this is essentially just like a Rome at the height of its powers. There's so many different ways of playing this game. So many different types. Niflheim is sort of like this is a frozen realm of Nifl giants. In the tutorial series, when I get started, I'm going to be choosing the ice giants because I think that they're another good one to get a bit of a handle on. If you just go and right click on this one, you'll see everyone is just giants in this instance, and so this one then changes across the time as well. In the Middle Age, these actually start to introduce goblins into their mix as well, so it's fascinating the way the game actually does play. Anyway, I'm going to leave this episode here. If you do get the game, by all means have a bit of a read of the like if you enjoy reading mythology and lore, this game is full of it. Within its own sort of areas. Even the dreaded old halflings. I think, where do they take it? Where do they come in? They're not bad, actually, I've got to say. The game does find a way to make them useful. Where are they? Yeah, I'm not exactly sure where they are. Anyway, I won't continue on. I'll just leave it there. I thought it was middle age. But it's not. Yeah, no, it's not. No, I can't find it. I had a quick look and I can't remember. They're called the Hopyars in the game. May just be that they're just random factions that you sort of then find out on the actual maps themselves, because the map can have different types of Amazons and, as I said, hobbits before, things like this. There can be collections of them that end up, inhabiting the parts of the map when you actually do get to start the game, and they give you different abilities as well when you do actually get them inside your territories. Anyway, guys, I'm going to leave this episode here. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you in the next episode.